Daniel's hand tightened around his champagne flute as Lena's words sank into him, each syllable heavier than he expected. At first, his mind rejected it like a reflex, a defensive laugh, a forced smile, an attempt to dismiss the idea entirely. But Lena's eyes, sharp and serious, anchored him to the truth he didn't want to face. The warmth of the crowded room faded as he noticed Emily in the distance, the soft gold of the hotel lights highlighting her laughter, a sound that now felt foreign. Daniel's heart began to thump unevenly, each beat echoing with a mix of disbelief, betrayal, and a cold, creeping fear. Faces blurred around him as he tried to rationalize it. Surely he was imagining something, but the tension in Lena's stance, the seriousness in her tone, made it impossible to ignore. Daniel's eyes scanned the crowd, each step and gesture magnified under his sudden scrutiny. Emily was there, radiant, laughing, but the laughter felt hollow now, a mask concealing the truth. Marcus Hale, imposing and polished, leaned in with a familiarity that sent a jolt through Daniel's chest. Subtle touches, an arm brushing her lower back, a lingering look of intimacy, suddenly screamed volumes. The chatter and clinking glasses of the party faded into the background as Daniel's mind raced, cataloguing moments that now seemed like clues. Unexplained late nights, vanished weekends, sudden work trips, casual excuses that now felt rehearsed. The warmth of the festive atmosphere twisted into a cold, claustrophobic weight. Daniel felt his stomach drop as he realized the woman he trusted the most had been hiding pieces of her life from him, and every smile she had shared tonight now appeared loaded with secrets. Across the crowded room, Daniel's gaze locked with Emily's. For the briefest instant, her radiant facade faltered, a micro-expression so small, yet unmistakable. Her eyes widened fractionally, a flash of recognition that Daniel caught like a spark. It wasn't fear or guilt, exactly, but a silent acknowledgement that he was beginning to see her differently, that the veil between them had thinned in that moment. The music and chatter around them seemed muted, leaving only their shared, unspoken exchange suspended in the golden glow of the chandelier. Daniel's mind reeled, caught between the instinct to confront and the paralytic shock of betrayal. He realized she knew, just as he did now, that their life together had cracks beneath its polished exterior. The realization left him unsteady, a storm of confusion, anger, and heartbreak swelling inside him as the party continued obliviously around their fragile, tense bubble. Daniel Brooks had once dreamt in colors, scribbling worlds into notebooks while the sun fell over city rooftops. A creative writer with a restless heart, he had chosen stability instead, trading inspiration for spreadsheets, deadlines, and insurance claims. Every morning, he slid on his suit, brewed his coffee, and whispered to himself that endurance was love's highest form. Conflict made him uncomfortable, confrontation unbearable. He measured his life in small certainties, Emily's presence, their shared apartment, weekend rituals, and had long convinced himself that loyalty equaled fulfillment. Yet beneath the calm exterior, a dull ache pulsed, the life he might have had, the stories left untold. He noticed every shift in Emily's tone, every hesitation in her gaze, and tucked it away, afraid of disturbing the fragile peace. His love was quiet, patient, and blind, a devotion that shielded him from suspicion but not from heartbreak. Emily Brooks moved through the world like a polished blade, sharp, focused, and relentlessly ambitious. Growing up with nothing, she feared scarcity as if it were a predator waiting to pounce, and she had built herself into a fortress of charm, wit, and efficiency. Her identity was intertwined with her career. Promotions, recognition, and power were not luxuries, they were survival. Over the past year, the emotional distance between her and Daniel had widened, almost imperceptibly at first, then glaringly obvious. Late nights at the office, offhand excuses about workload, and the soft defensiveness in her tone all wove a web Daniel struggled to untangle. The intimacy they once shared, the quiet dinners, shared laughter, whispered reassurances, had been replaced by logistical discussions, bills, errands, calendars. Emily's brilliance shone in every corporate interaction, yet it cast a shadow over their marriage, leaving Daniel isolated in his silent devotion, slowly realizing that love endured, but perhaps it could also deceive. Daniel's mind revisited a memory he had buried. Months ago, Emily had said, "You wouldn't understand the pressure I'm under." At the time, he had nodded, comforted her, and assumed she meant deadlines, meetings, and corporate expectations. Now, in the glare of betrayal and subtle glances, the words took on a different weight. The late nights, the elusive excuses, and the carefully maintained smiles were not just about work. They were part of a hidden game, one that protected Emily's career while quietly eroding their marriage. Daniel felt a pang of clarity, sharp and cold. She hadn't been speaking about spreadsheets or quarterly reports. She had been speaking about choices that excluded him, about a secret life running parallel to their shared one. The realization broke something inside him, replacing confusion with an aching certainty, as he understood that trust, once fractured, could never fully return, and the woman he loved was no longer entirely his. The cool night air hit Daniel's face as he stepped onto the hotel balcony, hoping to breathe and clear his mind. Laughter and music drifted faintly from the party behind him, but it felt distant, irrelevant. His thoughts were consumed by Lena's warning, still echoing in his head. Then, across the dimly lit street, he heard it, Emily's voice, hushed, urgent, unmistakable. Not here. Not tonight. He's here. His stomach dropped. Each word carved ice into his chest. Time seemed to stretch, and Daniel's eyes widened, searching for the impossible, a sign that he had misheard. But the cadence of her tone, the subtle anxiety, and the deliberate secrecy in her phrasing left no room for doubt. The world narrowed to that single moment. The life he had trusted, the person he had believed in without question, suddenly appeared fractured, delicate, and terrifyingly real. Back at home, Daniel's hands trembled as he unlocked Emily's phone, drawn by a mix of dread and inevitability. His eyes caught an unsent draft text, "I can't keep lying to him forever." His chest tightened, his breath uneven, as the words burned with undeniable truth. He sat down heavily, heart hammering, staring at the screen as memories and suspicions converged. He confronted Emily gently, voice quivering but steady, seeking a bridge to clarity rather than conflict. Yet her response was instantaneous, defensive, and sharp. "You're imagining things. You're insecure." The words cut deep, gaslighting his very perception. Daniel's mind spun, torn between instinct and doubt, clarity and confusion. Each denial reinforced the reality he feared but could barely claim. Emotional collapse washed over him. Anger, heartbreak, betrayal, and helplessness swirling together, leaving him raw, exhausted, and unmoored in the very home that had once felt safe. By 3 a.m. Daniel's car was parked under a solitary street lamp, the city quiet around him. His phone's glow reflected on the windshield, illuminating the evidence Lena had sent: photos, dates, and hotel receipts, indisputable proof of betrayal. Each image hit like a physical blow, erasing doubt entirely. He leaned back, chest heaving, the silence punctuated only by the hum of the idling engine. For the first time, clarity replaced uncertainty. He whispered to himself, almost as if it were a lifeline, "I wasn't crazy." The realization was bitter and liberating. No turning back. The life he had believed in was gone, replaced by a reality that demanded action, reckoning, and choices he had never imagined needing to make. The glow of the phone in the dark car symbolized both the pain of truth and the first step toward confronting it. Daniel's home, once a sanctuary, had transformed into a cage of cold glances and half-spoken words. Emily's warmth had retreated, replaced by icy defensiveness, each interaction sharpened with subtle criticism. "You're too quiet," she'd say, or, "You don't understand pressure like I do," weaponizing the very traits Daniel once cherished. Her charm toward others masked the sting directed at him, and every conversation became a minefield where he tiptoed to avoid further offense. Friends, sensing the tension, offered platitudes and neutrality, unwilling to confront the truth, while family insisted he compromise, fix the marriage, and swallow the discomfort. Only Lena spoke plainly, reminding him of what he already suspected but feared to confirm. Alone with his thoughts, Daniel began doubting himself, his instincts, and even his memories. The home that had once echoed laughter now amplified silence, a relentless reminder that the woman he loved had become a stranger, and trust had been replaced with suspicion and heartache. The corporate world Daniel had once considered safe now felt predatory. Marcus Hale's charm concealed a razor-sharp control, and the friendly coffee meeting was anything but casual. Words dropped casually about legal teams and reputations, thinly veiled threats lurking beneath politeness. Daniel felt the subtle pressure coil around him, each insinuation a reminder that his stability, career, finances, and dignity could be dismantled by the influence Marcus wielded effortlessly. Emily's emotional distance complemented Marcus's manipulation, turning personal betrayal into professional jeopardy. Every glance from Marcus carried a warning, every polite smile a reminder of his precarious position. Daniel's confidence frayed under this calculated tension, the dual forces of marital deceit and workplace intimidation creating a psychological trap. It became clear, confronting Emily would not only risk heartbreak, it could unravel the life he had built, leaving him isolated in every sphere, powerless against their combined influence. As Daniel struggled to process the betrayal, Emily framed the affair as trivial, a mistake, a phase, insinuating it was his fault for being passive. Each word twisted the knife, transforming reality into a hall of mirrors where guilt, doubt, and fear amplified his isolation. Marcus's wife remained blissfully unaware, HR quietly compromised, and the delicate balance of power leaned sharply against him. Daniel's heart sank as he read the email, a formal HR complaint alleging harassment, carefully orchestrated to undermine him professionally. The walls closed in, suffocating him with the knowledge that both personal and professional lives were under siege. The very people who should protect or support him had been neutralized, leaving Lena as his only ally. Panic, betrayal, and resolve collided, planting a seed of determination. If they were attempting to destroy him, Daniel would need every ounce of cunning and courage to reclaim his life and expose the truth. The final pieces of the puzzle fell into Daniel's hands through Lena, who revealed a chilling pattern. Marcus Hale, the polished, unassailable CEO, had been manipulating, charming, and betraying multiple women, leaving a trail of carefully managed settlements in his wake. Lena's tone was grim but resolute, her evidence irrefutable: recorded conversations, meticulously saved messages, and incriminating documents. Daniel felt a surge of vindication, relief, and adrenaline all at once. The puzzle pieces of his marriage, his isolation, and his fear of losing everything suddenly clicked into a harrowing clarity. Lena's courage and meticulous attention to detail were his lifeline. The hidden truth wasn't just about Emily. It was about the toxic ecosystem Marcus had created, one designed to protect him while destroying others. Daniel's pulse quickened, a mix of fear and controlled determination, knowing that this revelation could shift the power entirely, if he acted decisively. The company-wide meeting felt monumental, the air thick with anticipation as employees murmured nervously. Daniel stood, calm, precise, and composed, a stark contrast to the whirlwind of months behind him. He pressed play on the audio, letting Marcus's own words fill the room, and displayed the documents Lena had provided. The effect was immediate. Marcus's mask of charm and control began to crack, his carefully maintained demeanor faltering as employees absorbed the truth. Emily, too, broke down, not from guilt, but from fear, realizing the personal and professional consequences she could no longer manipulate. Marcus's wife, present in the meeting, stared in stunned disbelief, her composure a mirror to the tension in the room. The corporate fortress that Marcus had relied on was crumbling, and Daniel's measured, controlled exposure shifted the power entirely, creating a cathartic emotional peak for everyone present. The aftermath was immediate and irreversible. Marcus was escorted out, the investigation initiated, and Emily's promotion frozen indefinitely. The room that once symbolized Daniel's isolation and fear now reflected justice tempered with restraint. Emily approached him privately, pleading, claiming love, confusion, and desperation, trying to rewrite history in the shadow of her exposure. Daniel's heart ached briefly, not from love, but from the realization of repeated choices. Emily hadn't slipped once, she had chosen betrayal every day. Calmly, he met her gaze, voice steady and resolute. "You didn't betray me once. You chose it every day." The words landed with undeniable finality, a declaration of both heartbreak and closure. Daniel walked away, empowered, no longer a passive observer in his own life, the weight of deceit lifted, replaced by clarity and self-respect, leaving Emily to confront the consequences of her decisions. The corporate storm left its mark long after the confrontation. Marcus Hale resigned, his carefully curated image shattered, while legal teams pursued every documented misdeed he had orchestrated. Emily, stripped of her promotions and influence, faced the stark consequences of choices made behind closed doors. The corridors of power she once navigated with confidence now echoed with whispers of accountability, leaving her to confront a reality she could no longer manipulate. Daniel, witnessing the fallout, felt a quiet satisfaction, not from Schadenfreude, but from the knowledge that justice, though delayed, had arrived. The weight of fear and deception that had oppressed him lifted, leaving space for clarity and self-reflection. Actions taken, lies exposed, and systems of secrecy dismantled, Daniel could finally see the consequences of betrayal in stark relief, a reminder that integrity and truth, though fragile, ultimately endure. With the chaos behind him, Daniel moved out, not with bitterness, but with purpose and clarity. The apartment he once shared with Emily was a symbol of past compromise, now replaced by a space of his own creation. Writing, once abandoned for stability, returned as both therapy and passion. Each word on the page became a step toward reclaiming identity, a declaration that his voice mattered. Therapy sessions peeled back layers of doubt, restoring self-worth eroded by years of loyalty and silence. Daniel rediscovered the joy in small routines, the exhilaration of storytelling, and the pride of independence. No longer constrained by fear or manipulation, he felt a profound sense of empowerment. His life, once dictated by others' choices, was now governed by his own resolve, illustrating that courage often begins with reclaiming the right to be fully oneself. Emily was left to face the consequences of her decisions, forced to confront herself without the comfort of excuses or reconciliation. Daniel, meanwhile, learned lessons that would guide him forward. Silence is not loyalty, and love should never require the erasure of self. With this clarity, he completed and submitted his first published essay, titled The Cost of Staying Quiet. The words encapsulated his journey through betrayal, isolation, and self-rediscovery, resonating with the honesty and insight only experience can bring. As he pressed send, a sense of completion washed over him, a cathartic affirmation that his voice, once muffled, now had power. The arc of empowerment wasn't about revenge. It was about reclaiming identity, asserting boundaries, and valuing self above imposed loyalty. Daniel's story, once defined by betrayal, had transformed into one of resilience, growth, and enduring personal justice. Months had passed since the storm of betrayal and confrontation, and Daniel's life had settled into a quieter rhythm. His small apartment, modest and warmly lit, felt like a sanctuary rather than a prison. Rain pattered softly against the window, a soothing counterpoint to the turmoil of the past. Daniel moved methodically in the kitchen, chopping vegetables and stirring a simple meal, each action grounding him in the present. There were no distractions, no expectations, only the gentle hum of a life reclaimed. The memories of deceit and manipulation no longer triggered panic but introspection. He reflected on the choices he had made, the courage it had taken to confront lies and assert his self-worth, and the lessons learned about love, loyalty, and silence. This was not solitude born of loneliness but of clarity, a space where Daniel could breathe, think, and exist fully on his own terms. A soft vibration on the countertop interrupted the quiet. A message. Daniel glanced at his phone and saw Emily's name appear, accompanied by the words, "I never meant to hurt you." For a fraction of a second, old emotions flickered, regret, nostalgia, even the faintest yearning, but he didn't open the text. His thumb hovered for a heartbeat and then deleted it unread. Daniel felt no anger, no revenge, only a calm acceptance. The message, though brief, symbolized everything he had endured: betrayal, gaslighting, and the long road toward reclaiming his identity. By letting it go, he affirmed that survival was not about retaliation or confrontation but about preserving integrity, self-respect, and the peace he had fought so hard to reclaim. In that quiet act, Daniel demonstrated the power of finality, the strength of emotional closure, and the wisdom of placing himself above old wounds. Later, Daniel sat at his desk, the apartment silent except for the steady rhythm of raindrops. His hands hovered over the keyboard, a mix of anticipation and catharsis stirring within him. Finally, he began to type, words flowing effortlessly as he captured the journey of loss, betrayal, and survival. In his mind, the closing line echoed like a mantra: "My body didn't fail me. My silence did. And I finally stopped apologizing for surviving." It was a declaration of self-preservation, a recognition that the years of endurance had been both costly and enlightening. As the screen filled with his thoughts, the past no longer held sway. Daniel had emerged from the storm with clarity, voice, and strength intact. The final image of him writing, focused and calm, symbolized rebirth, resilience, and the quiet triumph of reclaiming one's life and identity.